Nobody warns you about this. You spend your entire 20s waiting to feel like an adult. And then you turn 30, and instead of feeling arrived, you feel heavier. Not because life got worse, because something in your biology quietly changed, and almost no one talks about it. Researchers are calling it a silent epidemic, not depression, not burnout, something more specific. Today, 6 biological and psychological shifts that happen between your 20s and 30s, and exactly why they make everything feel heavier, even when your life is objectively fine. 1. Your brain finally finishes developing. And that's the problem. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for long-term planning, risk assessment, and consequence thinking, doesn't fully finish developing until around age 25. In your 20s, you were making decisions with a brain still under construction. That's not an insult. That's biology. By your early 30s, that construction is finished. Your brain now sees every consequence with full clarity for the first time. Your 20s weren't easier because life was simpler. They were easier because your brain wasn't fully online yet. 2. Your dopamine baseline drops. Quietly, permanently. Dopamine receptor density peaks in your early 20s and begins a slow decline starting around age 30. This isn't a disorder, it's normal aging, but things that used to feel exciting now require more to feel the same way. You're not broken, you're not ungrateful. Your reward system is recalibrating, and nobody told you this was coming. 3. Time stops feeling infinite. In your 20s, the future feels limitless. Psychologists call this an open time horizon. In your early 30s, that horizon narrows. You start doing math you never did before. If I want kids by 35, how many years do I have to switch careers? This is socioemotional selectivity theory. Time starts to feel finite, and finite time changes everything about how heavy a decision feels. 4. You're suddenly being measured against everyone else's highlight reel. In your 20s, everyone is in the same uncertain place. By your 30s, life visibly diverges. Married, with children, companies, or still figuring it out. And social media shows you all of it, curated and constant. This is upward social comparison fatigue, and your brain is more sensitive to it now because for the first time you actually have something to compare. 5. Your body is carrying more cortisol than it ever has. In your 20s, stress was temporary, an exam, a breakup. In your 30s, stress becomes structural. A mortgage, a marriage, children, aging parents. Chronic stress means chronically elevated cortisol, which dampens dopamine, disrupts sleep, and makes everything feel slightly heavier than it actually is. 6. You're forced to become someone, and that's terrifying. In your 20s, you could be anyone. By your 30s, psychologists say you enter identity consolidation. Who could I become turns into who have I actually become? Every year you don't change paths, a door quietly closes, not because you failed, but because choosing one life means losing access to all the others. That's what it means to actually live a life instead of imagining every possible one. So if you're in your 30s and life feels heavier, even though things are going fine, you are not broken, not ungrateful, and not failing at adulthood. Your brain finished developing. Your dopamine baseline shifted. Your sense of time changed. Your comparisons intensified. Your stress became structural. Your identity consolidated. 6 invisible shifts happening at once, with no warning and no instructions. This isn't a silent epidemic because something is wrong with you. It's silent because nobody explained the biology, and an entire generation quietly assumed it was personal. It never was. If this explained something you felt but never had words for, send it to a friend going through their own quiet 30s. Subscribe. Next week, what happens in your 40s and why it actually gets better. See you there.